Get on your knees and drink it.
Welcome back to the channel. This is Abe from Genetics Don't Count, coming to you outside today at a local park in Fort Worth, Texas. What is this area called actually? Northside Drive. So I like to come here sometime and watch the sunset, think about life, and I like to come here and sit on piles of ants. I just want to do a meet recap. I competed August 26th at the Texas Raw Championships in Fort Worth, Texas, and I had a lot of fun. I met a lot of people. I got to reconnect with a lot of people that I already knew. And yeah, so I just kind of want to go over my feelings throughout the day. I'm going to go over my feelings throughout the day, how I competed, how I performed, and kind of just my expectations going into my next meet, whenever that may be. So overall, the meet went really well. I didn't perform as well as I wanted to, but I did get to see a lot of people that I admire perform well. I went 7 for 9, and I attribute a lot of my lack of performance to myself and myself only. Ruth did a really good job of handling me that day. Anas, of course, as you guys may already know, I talk about it probably almost every video. He coached me really well up into the meet, but that day I just wasn't able to bring it all together, and I missed my third squat and my third deadlift. But to start at the beginning, we got there about 7 o'clock in the morning, registered the day before, all of our equipment, but weighed in 7 o'clock, and I weighed in at 90 kilos, and I'm in the 93 kilo weight class, so I've never had issues making weight. Taken away from this meet, I will try and fill out the 93 kilo weight class. I'll train at a higher weight and then try and just not drastically cut down, but cut down to where, you know, I'm not competing in the 93 kilo class with, I don't know, people who are training at like 205 or 210 regularly and then are at that weight at the meet as well. I was probably like 198 coming up into the meet, pounds. So after registration, and I don't want to put anything on the meet itself, because I feel like, you know, maybe given the restrictions of the meet sponsors and the handlers and everybody and the judges, they did the best they could. It wasn't as smooth as it would have, or as I would have preferred it to be. But nonetheless, we started lifting around 10. My flight was later in the schedule, so I was able to warm up pretty casually, even with some of the switches and the changes in the platforms and the flights. And my first squat felt really good. It was like, let's see, I got my numbers here. My first squat of 391 pounds. I'm just gonna say pounds, make it easier. It felt really good, as it should for an opener. Second squat felt a little bit heavier. That was 413, which I believe is on par with my last meet total, my last meet PR. So I was excited that I was gonna hopefully break that meet PR with my third attempt, but went up to 435, and I got out of the hole. I don't want to give myself more credit than I probably should, but I got out of the hole, and I just felt like my knees collapsed and my back wasn't going anywhere. I felt like my hips rised before my back rose, and I was pretty confident at that moment that the squat was not coming up. So the spotters came and took the bar off me. One of the spotters was very, very energetic because something had happened previously in the day. I didn't see it because I was warming up, but apparently somebody had dropped the bar. So the guy came up and got me very, very aggressively, and at the moment when he did that, I looked back and I said, "Thank you for the." I said, "Thank you for the hug," which he commented on later and was like, "Hey, did you say thank you for the hug?" I was like, "Yeah." He's like, oh, "Okay." But that's how squats were. That's the nature of the beast there. After warming up for bench, I felt really good because my bench has been feeling really great in training. So I opened up at, what did I open up at? I opened up at 270, which is pretty good. It moved really well. There was no hesitation. But I did get, I got all white lights, but I did get a heads up from one of the judges saying, hey, your heels were coming off the ground a little bit, so keep that in mind. So it was nice of him not to give me a red light, although I was kind of confused as to why he didn't give me a red light. I was really excited. That's gonna be in the video. So, they're gonna think you're autistic. So, going into my third attempt on bench, I was hopeful that it was gonna be something big, which it was not. It wasn't tiny. We did manage to get close to 300 pounds. We got 298, and I called on about 89% of my maximum height throughout a meet. I like to keep hype I like to keep my hype in reserve for my deadlifts. For squat, my hype level was about 93%. For bench, it was about, like I said, 89%. And then we'll see how it went for deadlifts here in a bit. It was so packed with people in the meet. I felt like my head was gonna explode whenever I was braced for bench. As I was pressing, I felt like tunnel vision. And then when I got it, and you'll see my bench in this nice crotch shot that Ruth got. But yeah, I felt like I was gonna black out when I was pressing, but I got it. Moving on to deadlifts, I was super excited because deadlifts have been really, really juicy. They've been moving like they've been made out of butter, but they're not butter, and I couldn't believe they weren't butter. But to take a little bit of a sidetrack, I was randomly chosen, and I take this as a huge compliment, even though there was definitely, not to say there was anybody at the meet who were on any sort of performance-enhancing drugs, but there were definitely other people there who would have probably been better suited or better worthy of getting a drug test. Here's mine. And that could be pretty good. That'd be a pretty good thumbnail, actually. So I was randomly selected to take a drug test. Going into deadlifts, first attempt of 463. That was RPE. Where is this bar that I was supposed to lift? Because it just felt super easy. Second attempt of 502. Had a little bit of a delay, but it still was moving really well. I was super stoked to see what I was gonna get for my third attempt. Knowing now, was 518, which was a conservative third attempt, and that's lame. I'd prepped 105% of my height for that lift. I had about 3 guys slap me on my back. When I only asked one to do it, but 3 of them did it. I was listening to my super hype song that I only listen to when I get PRs, and that's Chop Suey by System of a Down. That's my absolute hype song. If I hear it, I get goosebumps and I need to lift some weights. And I took a big old whiff of my nose torque, or not nose torque, it's ammonia, but it's Elite FTS brand. NH3, which is super good if you ever want to try some cheap torque. You don't want to waste it by getting better. Let's go! 105% of my height for this third deadlift, and I missed it. I didn't miss it because the weight was just stuck at my knees, or it was too heavy. I miss it because I dropped it. My grip slipped. And I never miss a deadlift because of my grip, which sucked. That was my performance, 7 for 9. It was like a 12-13 total at 93 kilos, which is, that's. I'm not obviously going to say, oh, I'm weak, because there's probably people out there who have a lesser total than I do, so I don't want to be disrespectful to any of them. But At the same token, or in the same token, my overall expectation for my performance wasn't matched by the reality of the situation. You know, going into my next meet, or just going into training here up until my next meet, whenever that is, I'm gonna gain weight. So, you know, these kind of things happen to everybody. Everybody has a bad meet, or everybody gets to a point where they plateau on a lift. The important thing, and again, this is why it's so important, in my opinion, to have a good support system, like a team or people that you can talk to about these kind of things. It's important to keep in mind that if things get stagnant, you have to make a change somewhere. You can't keep doing the same thing over and over again. That was the meet. That's how it happened. That's what it did. And I want to also give a whole bunch of shout outs to everybody from UNT, everybody from UTD, everybody from Progressive Overload in Dallas, and everybody from Metroflex Fort Worth, of course, and UTA. Oh, thanks so much to the spotters. Hey guys, thanks for watching the video. I appreciate you coming to the channel. Again, huge shout out to everybody who could make it to the meet back in August. Back in August? That makes it seem like it was back in the history books. Fucking getting eaten up by mosquitoes here for you guys. Thanks so much for coming to the channel. Like, comment, share, subscribe to the video. And again, spread the word. Genetics do not count. That sounds lame as fuck.